Sportsline. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. We've got Chip Hayner here, Smoking Jim Frazier, and in our anchor position, Big Mike Butera. We start out with what's on our mind, so we're going to get right to it with Big Mike. What's on your mind?
No promos.
I have a few later.
Yeah. I really don't. Well, actually, before I start to give a shout out to Rick and Loretti in Frankfort, Illinois.
What about Little Nicky?
Little Nicky in Export, he moved up number 2. Big Jim in Lawrenceville, number 3. Rollo in Columbus, and Epstein's mother. I want some.
How is she doing since we brought that up?
She's getting old. She's getting up there in years. But where I'd like to go.
What's on your mind?
I want some assurance from, and we, the production crew, you guys here, you guys there. We're very reliant upon you, is what I'm told every week. Appreciate your efforts, but I'd like some sort of assurance that there's not going to be a power outage during the show that breaks up the flow. So that's not necessarily what was on my mind, but I truly had to get that out. What I wanted to, before I get to what's on my mind, I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention because I thought this was pretty cool. Lavone Pear Davis passed away earlier this week, which could have only been yesterday, at age 88 of natural causes. Now, who she was she was the lady that was portrayed by Gina Davis in the movie A League of Their Own with Tom Hanks, Muldoona, and Rosie O'Large.
Good call.
And what amazed me about not only that movie and the fact it was based on a real experience was the fact that that league actually was from 1943 to 54. So it was initially was brought on because of the gap with the Major League Baseball players going into World War II, but it actually lasted about 11 years. And there was 3 teams: the Racine Bills, the Grand Rapids Chicks, and the Fort Wayne Daisies, and they played 120 games over 4 months. And the league was founded by the Cubs owner, Phil Wrigley, and I thought that was a pretty awesome point to bring up to everyone's attention. But what's on my mind is the fact that I'm really digging a shortened hockey season, 48 games in 99 days. The Penguins are on almost every day. It's so much fun to watch. There's no disruption to the there's a game here's a game there, and there's a game on the West Coast that starts when I'm already 2 hours asleep. You know what I mean? So this the way they have this. I mean, there's no doubt that there'll never be a 48-game season. But boy, this is really awesome entertainment with the Hockeys. There you go.
Mike, thank you very much. 2 good calls from you today. You're on fire.
Can I go now, or can I get a raise? One or the other.
Can we shut the camera for 30 seconds so you can escort?
I'm
just kidding.
Why do I let you do this to me?
You asked for it. Well, now we go to Smoking Jim Frazier. What's on your mind?
Hey, thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. Just real quick, I want to thank Aaron Ward, Chip Hayner, Al Levine, the talking machine, for a great time last night at Sips Sports Bar in Dormar. Beautiful place, beautiful ownership. I know Al want to talk probably more about that, and just couldn't have been more impressed. Also want to thank Aaron Ward. Everybody gonna think we're dating. I'm giving Aaron so much credit, but we witnessed along with Al Levine, the talking machine. We witnessed history Saturday night, watching Lightning Rod Sulka win the lightweight championship belt. And most people consider Muhammad Ali the greatest fighter of all time. I consider Rocky Marciano the greatest fighter of all time. But if you go to YouTube, and Muhammad Ali gets credit for a lot of great fights, but nobody mentioned his greatest fight. Muhammad Ali's greatest fight, in my opinion, is when he fought Cleveland Cat Williams. So if you go to YouTube and watch that, you're talking about perfection. Lightning Rod Sulka was as close Saturday night to anything I've seen to Muhammad Ali's best effort against Cleveland Cat Williams. And that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. Now, Chip Hayner, what's on your mind, buddy?
What's on my mind? You know, I think my friend Big Mike Butera kind of touched on, I guess we don't have to worry about any power outages. And Subsequently, there was a little
rather
bit of a
bright.
power outage to give the NFL and Roger Goodell another black eye at the Super Bowl. And, Roger did such a great job of hosting the event, and he wasn't being seen anywhere all week, because New Orleans is his favorite city because he took the season away from them. And, and I don't think that Beyonce really had anything to do with the blackout, and I don't think Roger Goodell had anything to do with it either. But it's funny how Beyonce and Jay-Z got the New Orleans Saints second-round draft pick that he took from the Saints this year. But,
That's a good
But once again, instead of addressing the issues that really do play to player safety, and they get some testing done in the NFL, I think all they're doing is just blowing a bunch of wind. Because to clean up all of professional sports, because once again the PED things are starting to clutter up the airwaves. St. Ray got accused during Super Bowl week, and Alex Rodriguez is again, and They need to do some testing and solve this problem, because it can be solved, but the players' unions and the owners both have to come to agreement. The players' unions are protecting the players from true testing that ultimately is going to lead to better health and safety for the players, because we're always concerned about what can we do to avoid concussions. Well, you know what? You can't avoid concussions in football. Football is a collision sport, okay? And it doesn't matter what kind of helmet you put on somebody's head. I heard a neurologist talking about it. It's like taking an egg and shaking it up, okay? You don't break the shell, but the whole inside of it gets scrambled. And that's what we're finding out right now, is happening to players. So, you're not going to be able to officiate it out. And then, you look at the Super Bowl, and it ended the season the same way the season began, okay? We've got, we've got horrible calls being made by the referees. And, we're watching a game where defense is becoming less and less important, and they keep on making it more and more of an offensive game. And, do I think football's in a better place now with games and, scoring 30, 40 points each team, each game? It's not the kind of football that I grew up loving and enjoying. I mean, we're from Pittsburgh. We love defensive games. That's why we hate the Ravens so much, because they so closely mirror the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not only in the way they play defense, but also they catch an occasional championship. So I mean, that's why we dislike them as much as we do. But congratulations to the Ravens. It hurts me to say it. They are the champions this year. It'll be interesting to see what they're going to do with their roster now, because, like, for example, Jacoby Jones had a big game. He got paid $750,000 this year, and he gets a little bump in salary next year for $3 million. Well, after that performance in the Super Bowl, I think renegotiation is a word he's going to become really, really fond of, and they're going to have to pay Joe Flacco. So it'll be interesting to see if they can keep this team together. That's what's on my mind.
And that's a good problem to have when you win a championship, too.
Well,
you had some talent there.
And Ray Rice is up, isn't he, too?
I'm not sure. I'd be franchising him. He wouldn't be going anywhere.
We'll go to the next segment and revisit. But I do want to get a few things in before what's on my mind. We had a great time last night at Sip Sports Bar in Dormont. Mark, who I'm not supposed to mention his name, is the owner. John, the general manager, and a good friend of mine, Teddy. They were all great. They treated us fantastic. Smoking Jim didn't have to buy French fries, so he enjoyed that. And they treated us well with the food and everything else. You got to go out there. They have great deals on food, drinks. It's a great atmosphere, plenty of nice TVs. Then you got to meet Kelly, the entertainment director. Smoking Jim says, Kelly, you have one of the greatest tans in the winter here. So it was a pleasure interviewing you. And then Leandra, one of the best waitresses we've met, and she just took care of us with all the food, water. I think these two guys had pop, so they enjoyed that thoroughly. Great interview for her, too. And Tracy was mixing those fantastic drinks that the crowd was getting a little fired up there. We had a nice crowd there. We also had friends of mine from Greentree who had a son playing at Boston College. It was on national TV. There's actually 3 Pittsburgh kids there.
Wow.
So I did want to give a shout out to watch Boston College. I think they're number 1 in the country right now.
I think they were playing for the Bean Pot.
Yeah.
That was what the game's called. It's a local kind of a thing in college hockey. Not making light of it because, college hockey, I'm telling you what. I started watching some college hockey while the NHL was out, and it's a good diversion.
That it is. And then I wanted to go to, if you saw our promo, maybe you didn't, but a friend of mine who works with me, you always hear me talking about building bridges for business. Renee Horner owns 3E Graphic Design. If anybody needs some business there, go to her website. Look at the logo that she made for us.
Sweet.
Look at that nice little smile there. Big Mike.
Oh, man, I'm digging it.
Thank you. So that's a shout out to Renee. Thank you very much. Matter of fact, she lives in Dormont, a few streets away from Sips Bar. That's just a coincidence. She's actually a Detroit girl that we found out was a track star and a basketball star. So thanks for showing up. Then we have a doctor, Dr. Trina Hess. She's given these out as her business card now. So she gives a DVD, and it's bringing back vaudeville one laugh at a time. So she has a humor academy, and we really didn't. We were a little more funnier than her. She was sort of serious because she has a fundraiser that's coming up. Of course, we got to do that. Chip, I might need a little assistance here, my friend.
You read.
All right, she has a save the date, 2013. North American Unicycle Convention and Competition, July 21st to the 27th. So all of you guys and girls that have ridden unicycles or not, they'll supply helmets. I'm not going out there. I don't know about, I don't want to become concussed. But it's all for a great cause here. And check it out. It's called the Butler Wobble. And we'll be talking about this for a while. So thanks, Chip, for your help. And then we had another person, this Tempe Moore. And what an artist. And I don't know if you can pull up the close-up here. But she did
Nice.
a sketch of Myron Cope right here that is just awesome. And her husband, Scott, told her to do that. She has so much talent. And that kickstarted her to do all these different drawings and everything. She does them by hand. She even makes baseball cards by hand, football cards. And she's worked a couple deals. So this is Tempe Moore. Go to her website, Art for Yins. And that's her website. And again, it's Art for Yins. So that's enough of my infomercials. What's on my mind is we got so much sports to discuss, and we had so many people interviewed last night that we just want to keep flowing with talking sports tonight. So check out our show when it comes up in the next day or so. You'll see Pittsburgh Sportsline at Sips Sports Bar. It's hard to say fast, so just remember that. Now we're going to revisit what's on our mind now, because I have some questions with Super Bowl and all this other stuff, because a guy gave me a lead cinch pipe bet, and I was teasing him before that when he won all of the playoff games, not once did he use that phrase. So luckily, I didn't bet anything. So I didn't lose the house again, but we have a couple people that did. So no harm done, Smoking Jim. I appreciate somebody that makes an opinion and backs it up all day long. So let's go here. What's on your mind with revisiting? Big Mike, you usually have a question when you have the expert next to you, the NFL scout. Any questions for him?
I would have had a ton, but I'm in so much awe as we talked about it earlier. But what I wanted to ask you guys is, does anybody listen to The Fan 93.7 during the day?
What is that?
It's a competitive show of ours.
That's something that we just leave nameless here.
Oh, okay.
We don't need to give them any advertising.
If they want to advertise us,
They
have
were,
us
they
on.
were listening to me this afternoon, and yes, they were. And what I brought up was, when and where is sports legal to bet? Because there were conflicting views that I brought up today. Somebody said there's legal sports betting at the Rivers Casino in Meadows, and then somebody called in and said no, there wasn't. And then they went off on a tangent about, is there legal offshore betting, and the response to that supposedly was no.
That's correct.
And
Not if you're an American. You can bet offshore betting all you want if you're not an American and a United States citizen. There's legal betting all over the world except for what we're allowed to do.
I'm kind of like zeroed in on, say, Pittsburgh. What are we allowed to do and not allowed to do? Because
We're allowed to go to the casinos and gamble, and that's it.
But when it comes to
Or sports betting, you can go to Vegas, and I heard Delaware has some sports betting now too. That was supposed to be contested.
But as far as in Pennsylvania, you cannot legally bet on a sporting event.
And then I want to take it to another level. This was truly out of my mind.
Whoa. All right, we'll go to another segment. This is Big Mike's out of his mind.
Well, let me just correct some things, because I have a account in Antigua and some other places. You can go through a service. I'm a professional gambler, Hi, IRS. You can go through services, and they can set you up with an offshore account, and then they will transfer your money. My money gets transferred whenever I do get a nice little lump sum. It'll get transferred Western Union, but you can only get legally. You can only get up to $9,999 a day. So if you want to get over $10,000 a day, then
I can
you're
live
going
on
to be
$99.99.
you're going to be in trouble. So,
And that's what this one
but
guy
other than that, only Las Vegas is where you can place a sports wager.
okay.
And like Al Levine said, maybe in Delaware, I didn't know about that.
I think they put something out.
Do
I
do
got
any
me
of you
and
guys
Flacco going to hang out and go there.
Thanks.
learn something new about you every moment? Forget about every day. Do any of you fellas play any fantasy sports? I don't. You do.
Yes.
Do you play for money? Well, maybe I shouldn't ask you that.
You
but
know what?
is-
I'm
is-
going to take the fifth on that one. I play fantasy sports. Okay, let's just leave it at
Gordon,
that.
who else are you working for now? Because we heard you're now
He's
in a-
wired. You
Right.
got more than one wire on, man.
Does he know I'm getting my taxes done on Friday?
I know. Well, let's change the subject here. Let's go back to the sports world. Chip, do you got any questions here?
No.
You're good.
No, I'm good. I mean, last night, we had another fighter on, Fast Freddie Latham, and he's another up and coming heavyweight.
Right.
He's got a fight coming up on February the 16th in Indianapolis, and we'd like to see continued success for him. Nice young gentleman.
Right. And while we're on boxing, since we're leaving the revisit time, why don't we talk a little bit boxing here? Because I had a great time out in Elizabeth. What is that? Their sports center or?
Yeah.
It was just fantastic there. Smoking Jim invited me to come out, and I rode with the camera person there and director, Aaron Ward.
I'm jealous.
Well, I got the ride there. She's a fantastic chauffeur, I must tell you that. I didn't even want to wear my seatbelt. I felt that safe. But we made it nice and safe. She did a heck of a job filming it. Smoking Jim, I don't know how he does it. He had two beautiful announcers with him, and they'll remain nameless till he speaks out about it. But we saw some great boxing. We saw, I think, 5 amateur bouts. The last fight was the best fight with Lightning Rod Salka. He was on our show the other week at level 20, and Smoking Jim predicted he would win. 5th round, he hit the kid with, what was that, a right hook or something that was up high with a right. This guy was stunned, and he went into the Muhammad Ali flurry, and that's not the goaltender. He started pummeling him, and he was out on his feet. It was just a great performance. I don't know if I called it right there, Smoking Jim, but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
it was a fun night.
Yeah, you totally right. And the brother was showing up a little late. I got there.
We aren't even getting into
The
that.
weather was a little bad.
No, it wasn't. It was
on
the
feet.
2 women he was bringing with him. I didn't want to say it till we're on air.
And I want to thank China Rock for coming out. Outstanding boxing personality in India, who's been on the show before. They came and they really enjoyed themselves. And I tell you what, watching the fight, Aaron did an excellent job in high definition. So I watched the fight, and you can see Al Levine, the talking machine, doing business. He grabs Jimmy Sabetic, and he's doing business with Jimmy, exchanging stuff, man. You can see it, man. He's always working. But I tell you what, during those fights, the one thing that impressed me so much was, Rod Salka is an outstanding guy with a great reputation, word-of-mouth promoter. I think he's going to do a lot more things with our show and Al Levine, the talking machine, to get him to where he needs to be, because he has a great following. And I tell you what, he fought a tough guy, and he was just on. He hit him, hurt him almost every round, but he threw an overhand right in the 5th round. And the one thing about Rod, and don't forget that Rod Salka was a state wrestling champ in high school. He was a 3-time state Golden Glove champion. He's a military veteran, and he stays in outstanding shape. So what happened was he hit the guy and he hurt him, and he pulled a Sugar Ray Leonard, where he just threw about 50 unanswered punches, which you got to be in tremendous shape to do that. And the referee had to stop it. I don't think the kid was hurt enough for the referee to necessarily stop it. But when you're not firing back, that's a technique that Sugar Ray Leonard used to use, and Rod Salka was able to win the world championship. And it was great to see Paul Spadafore. He was there cheering Rod Salka on, their sparring partner. So just a great, great time with professional boxing here locally.
And then another person we've had on the show, Rayco War Saunders. He was there, and you know he's promoting his Three Lakes. What is that event there? I forgot the sheet of paper there. Harlem Nights. And
How
the
can we
war,
forget?
I know, and the War Girls will be out there. So, Rayco, there's a little promo for you. We'll have to get you out in Dormont next week or something to show
I'm sure
up.
the folks on Salzburg Road is excited about the Harlem Nights coming out there to Plum.
Definitely. And the one thing I want to close out the boxing with is Rod come on to our show last night, and that belt it's unbelievable.
Was it heavy or what?
It was heavy. And
Yeah.
I handed it to Smoking Jim. He's like, "This is heavy." Chip saw it. It's
Oh
heavy.
That isn't like pot metal on there.
That's a nice
You know
belt.
what I mean? That's a very nice, very classy. I've never held a heavyweight championship belt before. Or a boxing championship belt for my first time, and Rod Salka, what winning last night did for him was put him in the top 15 in the country.
Yes, sir.
So now, opportunities can become available to him to actually fight for one of the bigger belts, and I wish him nothing but success.
Right, and we're gonna continue this little boxing thing, especially with what do we have? Golden Glove coming up, Smoking Jim. You got a lot of action there, so this will be one of our segments that we do with boxing.
And then don't it sound like Rod's going to take the full year to defend this belt? I don't think he's
Well, he can go up 5 or down 5. So,
I
yeah.
don't think he's too interested in putting that belt on the line anytime soon.
And I don't blame him. That's no problem with that. Hey, we're going to go to another segment here that we've found out it's pretty popular. Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac. So take it away, Smoking Jim.
I got 1,000,000 of them. Thanks a lot.
Just give me
Elevator
one
Talking
tonight.
Machine.
Just one tonight,
One
please.
tonight, man. I got to go back to 1994. Woo! That's a long time ago. I tell you what, I'm coming through DuPont High School. It's no longer a high school. It used to be between Red, West Virginia, and Bell, West Virginia. If you guys have been going down there to see your cousins getting married to each other. And I heard about a kid that was a junior that was all-state in football. He was all-state in basketball. He was the defending state 100-meter and 200-meter champion, and his best sport was basketball. He was one of the top basketball recruits as a junior in the country. He was averaging 40 points a game. Of course, we're talking about Randy Moss. That game, Randy Moss came out there with his big afro. He was a 6'5" skinny kid that was flying up and down the court, had about 10 dunks, a few alley-oops. But as I was watching the game, I seen a little white boy at point guard. This white boy was a combination between Bob Cousy, Magic Johnson, Pistol Pete Maravich, and Curly Nelson from the Globetrotters or whatever he was. He was so exciting. He ended up getting a scholarship to college, to little Marshall University. Coach at the time was Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan leaves after a year and goes to Florida, takes the little white boy with him, goes to Florida, and this little white kid ended up playing 12 years in the NBA. Everybody knows him by his nickname, White Chocolate. I'm talking about Jason Williams. He was a senior on that team. Randy Moss was a junior. Jason Williams ended up dating a girl from Brentwood, PA, right near Baldwin. And at the time, I helped run an NCAA-sanctioned summer basketball league. So White Chocolate used to come to the hood, play basketball, and undress the brothers down there in East Liberty. So a shout-out to White Chocolate, Jason Williams, phenomenal player.
Thanks for that Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac. And now we have another segment that's growing very popular with myself. And it's going to be, again, we have Chip's Trivia Time.
Chips trivia time. Well, being that we have just wrapped up the football season, and Jim and I are going to get into a discussion about the Pittsburgh Steelers and things that they need to do for the upcoming draft. But some of the records that were set or tied in this year's Super Bowl, an individual record that was set was the most combined yards in the game by Jacoby Jones for Baltimore. He ran a kickoff back 108 yards. He caught one pass for 50-some yards and a touchdown. But, he had an amazing game, and you got to tip your hat off to him. He also set the record for the longest kickoff return.
Well, no, they changed it to he's tied because it was 109. It went to 108. I hate to correct you, but I watch that type of stuff, and they changed it 1 yard.
Okay.
Yeah, to 108, and 108 ties the. So he's not the only one. He's tied.
So even though Colin Kaepernick lost in his first Super Bowl appearance, he made an imprint on the game. Yep. He had the longest touchdown run by a quarterback in Super Bowl history. Wow. It was 15 yards.
No way.
That's the longest run by a quarterback in Super Bowl history. Records that were tied were most touchdown plays of 50 or more yards, 2 by Jacoby Jones. Most receiving yards by a tight end, 104 yards by Vernon Davis of the 49ers. They tied the record for most kickoff returns for a touchdown with 1, most safeties in a game with 1. So there were some notable facts that, or trivia facts that happened in this year's Super Bowl. But I think one of the most interesting facts is everybody has been, of course, us from Pittsburgh, because we've watched him step on it a number of times, is Joe Flacco really rose to the occasion in this year's playoffs. He went 4 games and he threw 11 touchdown passes, and he didn't throw a single pick. And that ties a record that was set by Joe Montana. And then when you're in that kind of company, you're doing something right, which leads me to the next question is Joe Flacco an elite quarterback now that he's won a Super Bowl? And you know what? I think, to be considered an elite quarterback, you have to look at your body of work. And, I don't think Flacco has won enough big games yet to be considered that. He's won 1 Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer won 1 Super Bowl. There's a lot of quarterbacks that didn't become elite or, Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks. He's on the right track, but, I hope I see him fail a few more times in the next few years.
I hope we caused that failure. Just to interrupt you there, Chip.
Power failure. Chip, can you go back to that part about the most safeties?
Most safeties. They tied the record.
There's only been 1 safety in.
There's never been more than one safety in a Super Bowl game.
You guys know what was the first one?
Was it Dwight White? And sacking Fran Tarkenton in Super Bowl IX?
That's it.
No,
got out of the hospital.
Yeah, he was on his deathbed there.
But, if you talk about whether Joe Flacco is elite, don't forget now, and I watched Joe Flacco when he played for the Delaware Hens, and he played his arch rival, Delaware State, and he beat up on them. But they played for a national championship, and Appalachian State blew him out his senior year. They scored 49 points on him. Don't forget now, Baltimore Ravens lost 4 out of the last 5 games. But there is a shortage of quarterbacks in the National Football League in college. So I think you got to play Joe Flacco. But what's going to happen is, and the Steelers learned that when your leader steps down, the general, Ray Lewis, the greatest football player of all time, is leaving. So you're going to see a lot of dissension on that team that Ray Lewis put a stop to, because I guarantee you that Ray Rice is not happy with the offensive coordinator, Jim Caldwell. Now, they started winning, but you can see Ray Rice's production going down. So you're going to see, if Flacco gets that big contract and Ray Rice don't get paid, you're going to see a lot of dissension. And don't forget, Bernard Pierce may be the up-and-coming running back for the Ravens. So that's going to hurt Ray Rice's negotiations. So look for some dissension to happen over there.
I totally agree with you there, because if you look at running backs in the NFL, their careers are extremely short. They've got about a 3 to 4 year period where they're at their prime, and they usually drop off very quickly after that. And Ray's got to build the stats now so he can get his 1 big payday, because out of a running back, that's usually all you're going to get out of him, is you're going to get 1 big paycheck in your career, because a running back's career could end on the very next play. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But the Steelers, have their own problems to worry about. And I guess they could.
Before we go there, I want to give a shout out to the Gradkowski family. Gino Gradkowski was a rookie on all teams, the Baltimore Ravens. Wow. Now we know about young Bruce Gradkowski being on Oakland, Tampa Bay, and
beating even with the Steelers and Heinz
even
Field.
With Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So a shout out to Gino and my friends the Gradkowskis there. What an opportunity. They were down there in New Orleans, and I know they had a great time. Can't wait to talk to them. Maybe we can get them to come up at Sip Sports Bar, because they only live about 6 blocks away. So maybe we'll get them to come up, and when he gets the ring, I don't know, that'll be next year or later in the summer, when the season starts. But wouldn't that be something to see a ring, even if it's a Baltimore Raven ring? There's a connection there with Pittsburgh, which that's what I enjoy. So shout out to them. Way to go and get that ring.
Well, I watched the celebration a little bit today. I wanted to see Ray Lewis dancing with the Lombardi Trophy, and did a great job. But it is Black History Month, February. HBO help a brother out. We got to give a shout out to a brother that got a Super Bowl ring thanks to Joe Flacco. Practice squad guys get Super Bowl rings, right?
I didn't know.
Dennis Dixon, congratulations. You are now in the Super Bowl. He got a couple Super Bowl rings. Dennis Dixon, the career backup.
There's a Pitt guy where's he even play at? What position, right? So, well, that's good there too. There we go. So now we were starting to touch on the Steelers a little bit.
No, just Jim, with your expertise in scouting and everything, and looking at what the Steelers' deficiencies were this year, what do you think the Steelers need to go after in the draft this year? What would you think their top priorities are?
Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers, one thing they need to do is find some deer antler spray to keep healthy. But always, I'm a firm believer in offense and defensive line. Offensive line's in shambles. There's a left tackle out there that's available. That's one of the best left tackles I ever scouted. He plays for small, tiny Central Michigan, and the Steelers had success in Central Michigan with Antonio Brown. This guy's 6'8". He's 325 pounds, and he's a monster, and he can play left tackle. His name is Eric Fisher, and I tell you what, he got great feet. Outstanding guy, and he's very physical. Yeah.
Well, I was doing some searching on the internet yesterday, and I ran across somebody that decided to make a mock draft. And this is one person's opinion of how they would draft for the Steelers if they were the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted. And I'd like to know what your opinion is about these draft picks and what you think of them as players. One of the first priorities this person would draft for the Steelers would be a safety, and he's out of Florida. I think his name is Matt Elam. Mm-hmm. That's who they say that the Steelers should go after first. I kind of think that the Steelers probably need to go after safety. Troy, he's a Hall of Fame player, one of the best that ever played the game, but he's been, hurt a lot the last few years. Ryan Clark isn't getting any younger. We need to get somebody groomed to play that position because we seem to have taken care of the quarterback position. Second pick here is a gentleman named Brandon Williams. He's from Mississippi Southern. He's a defensive tackle.
Beast.
So next they have a linebacker from Ohio State, John Simon. What do you think about that? And I'll go through these and tell me what you would think of just the draft in order. Number 4 pick, they would say there's a young man named Kenyon Barner from a running back out of Oregon. Go after him in the 4th round. A tight end in the 5th round, Nick Karst from Colorado. You had Heath Miller. He's going to be coming back from pretty major knee surgery. I mean, Keith is still going to be back and he's still going to play, but he's not getting any younger. There's a wide receiver from Elon College. His name is Mellett. Mm-hmm. Okay. They say with the 6th round, the Steelers would go with him. They have the Steelers taking a quarterback in the 7th round, Seth Dodge, quarterback from Texas Tech.
A bum. I'll just real quick, your 1st round pick. Tom Donahoe is a personal friend of mine who I have a lot of respect for. Used to be the general manager at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Used to say, get them good or get them gone. And Tom Donahoe's philosophy always was with a first-round draft choice is you got to get a guy in there that's going to be an immediate impact. The Steelers blew it taking 2 defensive linemen in the first round to be backups. You can't waste a first-round pick. Taking the safety's pretty good. My number 1 rated safety is Thomas from Fresno State, led the nation with 8 interceptions this year. But if you got Ryan Clark, who probably has a couple more years left, and Troy Polamalu, a lot of your money is tied up in safeties. I wouldn't go after a safety in the first round. The Steelers are not that far behind. They still got a lot of talent, still a lot of Bill Cowher players there. And and don't forget, they were the last team probably to beat the Baltimore Ravens. So no way I go for a safety in the first round.
Taking a wide receiver does kind of make sense because, there's still the big question mark of what's going to happen with Mike Wallace. And, did you notice that Randy Moss kind of had that same disease Mike Wallace had this year? The short arms when he's going after the pass. But, it's sad to say that, the best group of wide receivers in the AFC North is not in Pittsburgh. It's in Baltimore
or Cincinnati.
And we got a lot of press about Antonio Brown and Mike Wallace and Emmanuel Sanders and Young Money, and they fell flat on their face this year. They've got a lot to prove, and to me they haven't proven that they can do it yet.
Well, if you're gonna go after wide receivers, I go to wide receiver U. If you guys really study, there's a receiver for a tiny Division III school called Mount Union in Ohio that's putting out receivers. They got a kid out there named Jasper, probably be there in the 5th or 6th round. Outstanding receivers. That's the way I go if I go for a small college receiver.
What about the linemen here? With Steeler linemen, what do we?
Offense
Anybody
or defense?
Offense?
Well, Eric Fisher. And he's a white left tackle, man. He's sweet. Eric Fisher from Central Michigan would be my pick. 6'8", 325 pounds. I tell you what, he's as good as any left tackle I've seen since Jonathan Ogden and the guy that was better than him at Jacksonville that ended his career short. What's the kid's name from Jacksonville? Left tackle for years. But he's Eric Fisher's outstanding player. That's where I would go for a left tackle.
What are your thoughts on the running back? Richard's gone, and then we have a cast of no names.
I'm not so sure Rashard Mendenhall is gone yet. I got to check his Twitter account to make sure. We'll find out there. But I'm not as down on running backs as everybody else. I think if the offensive line is healthy, I think Redman said it best that he felt that he should have gotten some more carries. What the problem is when you got the president of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Art Rooney II, who's never played a down of football in his life, that continues to shoot off his mouth by saying the Steelers need to stick to one running back. Granted, Coach Tomlin lost the team when he sat down 4 running backs against Cleveland Browns, and that cost the Steelers a playoff game. But I am not in opposition to playing a hot hand at running back. I think they got enough running backs to get it done.
Well, in today's NFL, you look across the league. Every team has now got running back by committee. So it's because it's a high wear and tear position. These guys, like I said, 3-4 years their careers go. So, I think you can have a 3 or a 4-headed monster there. It's a shame that Chris Rainey, with the situation with him, and he's gone because the thing that made him enticing.
They just waived him today officially.
Well, they had to wait until the day after the Super Bowl, but the thing that made him alluring was his speed. That burst of speed because you got plenty of guys that can run in between the tackles. But I think one of the biggest places that needs attention is Steelers definitely need a linebacker. I know that they signed this kid from the U. Spence, is that his name? And he had a horrific knee injury, in the preseason. If he comes back, he looks like he could be somebody that could make an impact. But I still think that depth is severely lacking at linebacker. Larry Foote, do you expect to see him back this next year? I don't.
Well, see, the Steelers' problem is in that middle. You can't expect a LaVon Kirkland to come back at 280 pounds. But the Steelers' problem in the middle, they don't have a middle linebacker over 239 pounds. That's Lawrence Timmons is 239. Larry Foote is a lot smaller. So you need a guy that's big in that middle. And that's why I would hope that Monte Teo slips to 17. He's 6'2", 255 pounds. You can't coach that. The guy had over 400 tackles. He's a coach's son. Granted, he's a little naive when it comes to dating, but I've never seen a Mormon who wasn't a good football player. They're very good football players at BYU. Samoans, I haven't seen a Samoan that couldn't play football, except for Troy's uncle when he used to play for the Cleveland Browns. He was a bum. But other than that, they're outstanding. And I think Troy Polamalu would be a great influence on that kid. And I think that T.O.'s the guy. I would give up my whole draft for the kid. That's how high I am.
You think they would trade up for him then? Possibly trade up?
Because
he's not
I'm a
gonna
guy
drop.
that knows about invisible girlfriends. So
How many do you have? I can't keep track.
I got my wish list, man. I tell you. But I tell you what, nobody works like this kid. I think he can come and be the next Junior Seau. And like I said, Junior Seau to me will always be my hero because he shot himself in the heart so that he could preserve his brain for science, and it's been helping.
Well, he was, and isn't that it being the ultimate team player?
It's nice when you're serious. I enjoy that. It's refreshing. That's Dr. Smoking Jim Frazier, folks. In case you missed that. A little bit of humor there, like very little. But I appreciate it. We're going to move on from the Steelers. We have a Penguin game going on tonight against the Islanders. And it's our turn to win at home. I don't care how fast the Islanders are.
I thought we were playing in New York.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not at home. I misspoke.
All right. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
they beat us at home.
I know.
They beat us at home.
I thought it was
we need
Thursday.
to beat them at their home. That was deja vu.
I thought
all
I had
over
Groundhog Day all over again.
It is. We just missed it. I don't have the biggest fan now in New Jersey texting me like she did last week when it was 0-0. So we'll need somebody to text in here. And I think we can win. We're on a roll 3 in a row. Kunitz just got his 4th goal after they went home.
Yeah, well,
Our man Kunitz.
they should have got that call right because one of the things I saw at the end of the game Sunday was that the Penguins were setting up Kunitz. And within the last 10, 15 seconds of the game, they must have fed him 4 or 5 times trying to get him the hat trick because they only gave him credit for 2. But 1 week ago on Monday night, we took a drubbing from the New York Islanders and they beat us 4-1. And that was as bad a loss as I've seen the Penguins take at home. It was sloppily played. And, the Penguins got it together real quick. And, one of the things about this shortened season that Big Mike alluded to and how much fun it is you're playing a lot of your division opponents. So these games mean something. And they're going to come, when it comes down to playoff positioning and what, what seed you're going to get. Beating these teams that are in your division. They've recently beaten the Rangers. They beat the Devils. They beat the Capitals. They you know what though? The word is out on the street that the Islanders is not as bad of a team as they have been in the past. They've got a lot of young talent on it, and they got nothing to lose. So they're throwing it all out there right now. Right now, believe it or not, if the season were to end right now, the Rangers wouldn't even make the playoffs, and everybody's picking the Rangers and the Penguins to end up in the Eastern Finals this year. Before the Penguins dispose of them and go to the Cup. So, I mean, it's interesting what's happening with this season, but it's still, this is the 10th game tonight. There's a lot of season left. A lot can happen, but, it seems like the Penguins are playing pretty consistently the last 3 games.
It's hard to believe that we'll be almost a quarter of the way through the season with 2 more games.
By the Saturday.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's amazing. And Big Mike, I know you're amazed by it because you brought this stuff up to us, but it's a sprint to this finish here. What are your thoughts about the Penguins here?
I think that I'd like to change my prediction of the Penguins. I said earlier as the season was starting that I thought they might be a bottom seed, yet actually a bottom seed, and then go pretty far into the the playoffs. But watching them play, as we all agree, they play every other day or back to back, and you get a chance to see them a lot. it's really awesome. I think they're much better than I gave them credit for. Of course, who cares what I say? But I just think that they're an awesome team because, as you guys mentioned a moment ago, they are playing the teams that they're going to have to eventually play in the playoffs. Just about everybody. And they're doing so well, and they're doing so well in a row that it's just fantastic.
Well, you got to give credit to here, and I was a little bit suspect of him is the Penguins general manager Ray Shero. Made some really masterful moves before the lockout. One of them was signing your favorite goaltender, Thomas Volkun, who's a #1 goaltender who backs up Marc-Andre Fleury.
He did have 25 wins last year against
one
of our hated
the
teams,
Penguins,
the Capitals.
And what was the Penguins' biggest flaw last year going into the playoffs? We were concerned about the Penguins and Marc-Andre Fleury being burned out. And sure, the defense played into that as well. But now you're going to have a fresher Marc-Andre Fleury when you need him. And if he's not having a good game, you've got a top caliber goaltender. You're getting quality goaltending out of both those guys right now. That's why the Penguins where they're at.
I think it does help. There's no doubt. So.
I looked up Thomas V, and I'll go with that.
Pardon me?
I looked TV, the backup goalie or the second goalie.
Dickie V with basketball.
Thomas.
We're not on basketball now. That's the only V I know.
looked up. The reason why I looked up his stats is because Thomas, the backup goalie, the Penguins
Who are you
backup
talking
goalie.
about?
Volkun.
Okay, thanks.
And I was under the impression, because everybody's making such a big deal about him being good, as good as, he'll be the answer, blah, blah, blah. I thought maybe he was with a Stanley Cup team or some jazz. The guy has more, I think he has like a 500 record or just above 500 in the NHL. I'm not putting him down because I like his name.
It sounds
But
like it.
no. But
How did you say that, Don?
Yeah, downtown, Haas, N-Y-I-N-Z-S. But
Artforyins.com. You got to go to that website. Tempe more.
But I think he's a career minor leaguer as opposed to a top-notch.
I'm going to segue into something about one of your Yankee guys, A.J. Burnett.
How do we
He
get on
had a pedestrian record like what you're talking about.
Oh,
he was a
contraire.
game or two above 500. So I just wanted to
Let me throw you
Throw the
down here with a
curveball.
little bit of something about A.J. Burnett. You may have said he was like a journeyman pitcher, but to tell you what, A.J. Burnett was a quality right-handed starting pitcher. He is an innings eater. This guy pitches 180 innings a year for over the last 10 or 11 years.
But the but is we go by W's here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what you're leading to. He didn't have a great winning record, neither did Vakun.
That's who we're talking about. Actually, A.J.
I was trying to
Burnett.
bring the New York Yankees out of you. So how'd that work out?
No, not at all. Because
Okay.
A.J. Burnett might be a above 500 pitcher, but he always has those big years. He had a big year or two with the Marlins. He had a big year or two with the
Toronto
Blue Jays, and that's what attracted him to the Yankees, especially because he was a Yankee killer when he was with Toronto.
And he put a ring on his finger in 2009 with the Yankees as well. He was part of a pitching staff, so I mean, he was definitely serviceable.
Well, now I know instead of him talking about that goaltender not having a Stanley Cup record, that now we can relate it to A.J. Burnett did a great job here.
Yes.
So Vakun will be a great goaltender here.
And you know what else?
Thanks.
Since we're talking about A.J. Burnett, I do want to thank the Yankees again for paying more than half of his salary this year. That was a nice job by Neil Huntington. We got the Yankees to pay for him. Gabby Sanchez is being paid by the Marlins. I mean, you've got some smart moves, and you got some players that can.
And you segue. You're cheating at my card. We're going right to the Pirates.
Jeez. See that,
Chipper
everybody?
snuck one
I've
in.
got the jersey out because I'm already excited.
Look at that.
Spring training. Spring training starts on Monday. The pitchers and catchers report, and starting next week, we'll have a report about the state of the Pirates from week to week during spring training, getting ready for the opener. And this year is going to be the first year ever in my life that I'm going to the opener. I haven't been to a Pirate home opener in my whole life,
Really?
and I'm going to go. I've already got my tickets for this year.
Holy smokes, that's good stuff.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah. I'm
Chip,
looking
I
forward
got you
to it.
beat by about 8 times. I went to openers.
I've never
when I
been to
was young.
opening
We
day.
were allowed to go on a bus and go to Three Rivers Stadium.
Wow.
And from Greentree, all the way, all you people that know me from Greentree, we traveled there.
One
on
thing,
our own.
one thing my father would never let me do was cut school for the Pirate.
Well, you know
for
what? The
Pirate
way
football
your
team.
history is, we don't want to bring any of that up. I could understand why I wouldn't let you go. That'll be a story for
But
another day.
I'm really looking forward to this year. And last year was disappointing as the way the season fell out last year. That just rejuvenated me and showed me how much the city of Pittsburgh really loves the Pittsburgh Pirates. I believe the Pirates are going to be successful this year. They're going to build on what's happened the last 2 years. And it's going to be a lot of fun to be down at PNC Park. It is one of the prettiest ballparks I've ever been in. It's a great way to spend an evening.
It is.
And, you got to get bit by the bug, because if you don't, I'm going to bite you.
Do you have 4 for the opener?
Yes. No, I've got 3. I've got 3.
Bye, Al.
Man, I shouldn't have been that sarcastic.
No, I've got 3 for the opener, right behind home plate.
Good for you, man. You deserve it, Chip.
Just hold us those seats for later in the year, because
Uh,
I want to go to
I'll-
Sky Blast with you
I
guys.
have. I'm going
What's
every
Sky
single way.
Blast?
You have to go to
Oh,
Sky Blast.
Saturday nights are the nights where they have fireworks or a concert after the game or whatever, and I've got
Both.
tickets to all of them.
They got
All
both.
the Saturday games this year. Oh yeah, I signed up for my season ticket package
21
this
game
year.
package he got, and he locked up all those Sky Blasts, but he got extra tickets, I heard. We had a little conversation.
We had a
A
conversation
few weeks ago.
We may have to do a what is that, a live blow by blow from the game one of these days this year.
Oh, play-by.
Yeah.
Play-by.
Yeah, play-by-play.
Hey, you gonna come down and eat with us?
Well, I tell you what, man,
He's known.
I'm gonna have to see one of the brothers with the cardboard box. I got 2 together. I want to sit by Chip. I'm sure they'll have it.
I don't know who have them locked up behind home plate.
No, I
But
got
we might be sitting out in the bleachers.
I'll get us 4 down in section 125. It's just off third base, probably about 20 rows up off the field.
Wow.
I'll have 4 of them this year.
I got to break my glove.
Well, I'm
Oh,
telling you.
there you go.
I'll tell you what you can't do. You can't talk to the person to your left, because that ball will end up in your right ear.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll have to
I
watch.
learned that from going to hockey games. Man. The pucks can come
You get
right
hit
over
with the
glass.
puck. You might attract the puck. I don't know about that. We'll have to check that out. Hey, what I wanted to touch now is we always talk a little bit about Pitt basketball, Pitt football, and I think there's a guy named Tyler Boyd that Smoking Jim has talked about. He's supposed to make a decision. He's keeping, 10 o'clock tomorrow or
10
something?
o'clock tomorrow, he's going to sign his national letter of intent, and he has verbally committed to Pitt, but there's 2 other schools that he's been considering. Tennessee is one of them, Pitt, and I can't remember what the other one is.
West
And-
Virginia.
Yeah, so we'll see what he does. But tomorrow's signing day, and Pitt's got 23 recruits. They've got verbal commitments from him, and Paul Christ is pretty happy with his recruiting class. I mean, obviously, we won't find out how well he did until spring ball, or they can start practicing in the fall. But then also, the Pitt basketball team came back from the dead. They're now ranked in the top 25. Now, if you look at Pitt's
How did that happen?
no, here, look at this. You look at Pitt's record, and you say, how is this team only ranked number 23? And it's because of the strength of schedule. They played nothing but a bunch of crap teams for the first whole half of the year. I think they went into Big East play unprepared, okay? And now the next 3 games the Pitt Panthers play will all be against ranked teams.
Okay.
Now we're going to see what's going to happen, because we played Louisville last Monday night, and we couldn't hit a foul shot to save our lives, and we lost.
3
Okay?
for 12, folks. So
We
that's
go
not
to
a
play
good percentage.
Syracuse, who's been ranked number 1, Hall of Fame coach Jim Boeheim, and we beat them pretty handily on Saturday.
Did you
So-
find an assistant coach? Syracuse?
Not yet.
No.
No, he's still in a hotel somewhere.
Yeah.
We can't really find him.
But
On a serious note.
but so Pitt's playing again tomorrow night, and what Pitt team are we going to see? And I
Here's
think
what
really,
I got to interrupt you. I gave the prediction for this year, NCAA tournament. I don't know how far they'll go, but they have that potential, and that's a key word.
I'd like to see him
potential's
defend that CBI.
no, they're not going to pay to play. They're going to go to NCAA. I'm sticking with it.
Hey, hold
And
on,
you mean like the Pitt Panthers did when they played in this BBVA Compass Bowl?
I
I
don't
bet you
recall.
they operated that one on a loss.
I don't
we sold
recall.
a lot of tickets to that game.
It looked like a
They
lot
were
of
disguised
cutouts.
as- they
It
were
looked like a lot of
disguised as
cutouts were
NPCs.
sitting there. They cut
Yeah.
those people out. Well, we're getting close on time, folks. Anybody have any information on high school that's not Gateway?
Yeah, high school basketball. Look for the Newcastle team. They're undefeated right now. They bumped up from Division 3. What was it? Division AAA to the Quad A this year, and they've dominated. They haven't lost a game. I look for them to take the Whitfield title this year and possibly take states.
Just real quick, in the City League, every year I do the City League high school basketball championships, and it's going to be a little bit different this year. This past week, unfortunately, in the City League, more drama. Alderdice played Obama.
I don't even want to hear about this. It's a nightmare.
And after the game, there was some melee, and it resulted in Obama's coach being fired. So I don't know. Obama plays at Uniontown their next game, so I don't know if they'll have a coach. Maybe Darrell Porter's son is the star junior.
Really?
For
Obama.
Maybe Darrell Porter will come out of retirement and coach his son.
Can you talk to him a little bit? Get him to coach him up.
He's at all the games, man. His son is unbelievable, DJ. And he's probably a Division I recruit. He's 6'4" with a handle, and he can shoot that ball. So look for Darrell Porter's son. He's only a junior. Start following.
And I hate to interrupt you and cut you guys short, but I like to do this closing remarks because when there's questions on our mind, and Big Mike, if you can give us like a minute or less, I mean.
I'll give you less than that because I want an answer to this. Why did Jerome Bettis not make the Hall?
Okay, we didn't even discuss the Hall of Fame. I was saving that for another week. We had a lot to cover.
But it only happened
We're going to
2
go
days
to that.
ago.
We'll go to that next week.
But I think it was. Oh, okay. Well then.
We're going to keep. We got to tease the people to watch the show and Big Mike next week.
There you go. There you go.
Come up with some trivia about that.
Yeah.
Now or tomorrow? Next show. Now
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Folks,
next show.
this little timeout. We're going to move on to Smoking Jim Frazier. We'll discuss that next week. Smoking Jim, you got anything on your mind? Big Mike, I like you. We got to move on. We're almost out of time. I don't have a clock here. Whoa. We're down to 3 minutes. 3-minute warning. They're going to give me a 2-minute warning in a minute.
Well, I'll just
Smoking Jim, what else is on your mind?
I'll just be real quick. I can't wait till next week to talk about the Hall of Fame and how Warren Sapp got in ahead of Kevin Green and Jerome Bettis is the 8th wonder of the world.
And you touched a little bit on that. Check out our show on Pittsburgh Sportsline at Sips Sports Bar. And Chip, what closing remarks do you have?
Closing remarks. You know, everybody thought when the Steelers get locked out of the playoffs, there was no hockey at the time, that, it was really going to be a boring spring and a really late winter. And I'm telling you what, I'm really excited about the sports scene in Pittsburgh. Pitt basketball came back alive. The Penguins are alive and kicking. The Pirates are getting ready to kick off another season. I'm really looking forward to the next few months here in sports in Pittsburgh.
That's great. Me too. And I want to thank everybody for watching our show. I want to thank Joe on the camera. I want to thank Matt for on the right camera. I want to thank Chris and Aaron in the control room keeping us straight here. Without them, we wouldn't have this great show to present to you, contrary to what Big Mike's been talking about down there. So I just wanted to bring that out to Big Mike. We're running out of time, folks. And watch us next week. We'll find out about the Hall of Fame and why Jerome Bettis didn't make it.